UCL Fantasy is back for the new year, and in today's video we're going to be running through my team selection ahead of Matchday 7, talk about my transfer targets, and of course the teams you need to be looking at ahead of Matchday 7. Now, before we dive into today's video, if you do want to help the channel grow, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and get your comments in as well, as we are trying to hit 12,500 subscribers by the end of the season, and it is only possible with your amazing support. And of course, if you want to see more UCL fantasy content on the channel, make sure you're hitting that like button. Let's cast our minds back then to 2024. And look at my team, how we got on in Matchday 6. We did finish on a nice, juicy green arrow, taking us to 24k. Not too bad. Obviously, lots of work still to do if we want to get ourselves a decent position come the end of the season. However, you can't complain at a green arrow, and we definitely had some very, very good performances from, of course, Saka, Vinicius Jr., and our captain, Musiala, as well. Overall, a pretty good game week. There were a few players that were, of course, issues. I'm looking at Dams and Bakayoko. They haven't really delivered since being on the wildcard, and we'll see a little bit later, Dams is actually suspended going into this game week as well, so he's been a little bit of a troll to the team. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how the team is looking, and obviously we've got 2 free transfers to attack this next game week, and I do feel in a very, very comfortable and positive position. There's 1 or 2 players I would like, but unfortunately budget is restricting us in that department. So let's go and take a look at some teams I'm planning on targeting, and obviously some players as well with that. So what I thought I'd bring up first is the wrong one slide. This slide is the one I wanted to actually bring up. It is the table. And obviously I do feel it's really, really important to obviously bear in mind the 2 games and the implications that it might have for certain teams. So Liverpool at the top, probably going to secure that first spot. I imagine their next 2 games, or probably Matchday 8, probably going to see some rotations. That is putting me off potentially looking at any of their players. However, it might open the door up for some cheaper alternative assets as well, with obviously Liverpool probably looking to rotate. Same goes with Barcelona as well. I imagine maybe 1 or 2 might potentially be swapped out this game week or next game week, and then we kind of move on to the next teams where it's still all to play for, with everybody sat on 13 points there. Of course, they need more points, more more stuff obviously to get them through to the next stage of that. Then you've got that following pack of Dortmund, Bayern, Atleti, Milan, Atlanta also fall into that bracket, probably Juve as well. They're all very, very close, and obviously 1 win or 1 potential point away from securing themselves in there. So they're really, really good teams to be looking at. Obviously they've got that super big incentive to probably go and win both of their games to secure themselves into the kind of, you know, the next round without obviously having to play in the games in February. So big incentive for them, so definitely with some strong fixtures coming up for Dortmund and Bayern as well, definitely worth some consideration there. Then we obviously look further down the table and we start to see some teams, of course, PSV, City, Celtic, Real Madrid, PSG as well, all these teams that still have, you know, Champions League status in the next round to be confirmed. Obviously they could easily fall out. City as well have got a mammoth task if they, of course, want to maybe secure themselves into the next round. They very, very easily could, you know, obviously win their next 2 games, get a decent amount of goal difference, and secure themselves straight into the round of 16. However, you know, they need the wins. They need the wins to make sure that they just about get through to the knockout phases as well. And you do feel with City's season potentially going a little bit astray in the Premier League as well, a switch in focus might potentially look towards the Champions League as well. Obviously, PSG, it would be really, really embarrassing if they went out, so maybe worth considering some of their players. Same goes with Real Madrid as well. Like I said, they're only on 9 points. They still could get the straight into the round of 16. It is looking unlikely, but they actually probably need to start winning more games just to secure themselves into the latter stages of this competition. And with that in mind, let's take a look at some of the teams I'm going to recommend you guys to target over Matchday 7 and Matchday 8 with some really, really interesting fixtures. Obviously, I spoke about Manchester City. They obviously need to go and get some wins, so they've got PSG and Brussels as well. Both fairly-ish, I'd say, good games for Manchester City. PSG have been absolutely abysmal this year in the Champions League. Bruges have actually put up, you know, some pretty respectable performances, but I do feel like City at home probably should be strong enough. Dortmund as well, they've got that opportunity to go and go straight into the round of 16 with ties against Bologna and Shakhtar, so definitely, you know, we're probably going to be looking to, you know, reinvest into Dortmund assets. I know 2025 hasn't started great for them with some difficult performances in the league, but overall, still think they could be a worthwhile investment. Same goes with Arsenal as well. Obviously, you know, no Bukayo Saka, which does make it difficult. Saliba's out, so you're probably looking maybe towards a Gabriel. or maybe somebody like a Martinelli, a Havertz. Those could be really interesting propositions as well. Two great fixtures for Milan. They were in that chasing pack as well, closing down to the round of 16. Girona and Zagreb could be really, really decent fixtures for them. Of course, there is a doubt around Pulisic at the moment, but we're going to have to wait and see how that one plays out over the week. But Theo Hernandez could also be a decent shout. Rafa Leao as well could also be pretty good investments into the side. Bayern Munich as well, very similar to Milan and Dortmund. They're in that chasing bracket. They've got Feyenoord, and Bratislava as well. Obviously, Harry Kane's going to be a very popular asset. Musiala, Kim, obviously as well. All the I'm trying to get into my team because they do look really good. They've got obviously big attacking presence as well, and you do feel like they could absolutely smash both of these teams. Good fixtures coming up for Real Madrid as well, and like I said, they need to be winning games at this point. Obviously, a very impressive performance today on Sunday as well. Kylian Mbappe looking very, very good, starting to come to the forefront as well. So again, probably worth some investment there. Vinicius Jr., Rudiger as well could also all be pretty good investments. Then we move on to Liverpool as well. Like I said, they're probably already through to the next stages of this competition, but they'll probably want to get the job done in match day 7 and maybe a little bit of rotation in match day 8. Of course, they've got lots of other competitions coming up as well. They do have the Carabao Cup in England, the FA Cup and Premier League games as well thrown in, with an extra game being thrown in as well. Obviously, if you play FPL, you know all about that one with the double game week in 24. So lots of fixture congestion for Liverpool, so maybe worth avoiding some of their bigger players and maybe trying to maybe get some of their maybe on the fringe players. I'm thinking people like Diego Jota, Darwin Núñez, potentially could be worth a little bit of a gamble if, of course, we do get Liverpool early team news, or you just want to fancy a little bit of a punt. So there's some of the teams I'm going to be looking at over the next 2 game weeks. Of course, like I said, if you've got any questions about this, get them in the comments and we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can. But let's move on to my team selection for match day 7. So here we go, guys. Let's dive straight into my team selection ahead of match day 7. Starting off first with our goalkeepers and defenders. As you can see, goalkeepers, they're both playing away, but they've both got respectable fixtures in RB Leipzig, who already obviously crashed out of the Champions League as well. And then my other goalkeeper as well, Nubel, has a pretty respectable fixture against Bratislava, in match day 7. So 2 decent fixtures. Of course, they both play on different days as well, which is always a very big asset within this game. Moving into the back line, like I spoke about with my points, of course, Dams is already suspended, which is a little bit of a blow. However, he's at 4 million. I'm not realistically going to waste a transfer picking up another 4 million defender for me personally. So we're just going to probably play with the 4 that we do have on screen right now. We've got Young Boys with Trusty. That's a pretty decent fixture for Celtic as well. They're, of course, as we saw with the table, in a pretty decent position where they still could qualify, especially if they do get a positive result, maybe bump their goal difference up against Young Boys as well, who've been very, very disappointing in this competition. We saw Bayern, they're obviously chasing as well, so decent fixture for Kim. Theo Hernandez as well, Girona at home, again, they're still needing the points. Same with Gabriel, and of course, the way that Arsenal have kind of switched up their play this season, focusing more on set pieces as well, he could be one that could go and get a pretty big mega haul come match day 7. I'm hopeful anyway, with the way that Arsenal have switched around their play as well, obviously looking to kind of hit more set pieces and stuff like that. So I think that bodes well for that one. Moving on into the midfield, as you can see, this is where we've obviously made our 2 transfers. I've currently taken Rafinha out. However, I could be tempted to take Bakayoko out and leave Rafinha in. But we've obviously got Musiala here. He's not going to be our captain, probably. I need to kind of have a little bit of a switch of this one. I think I probably will go Vinicius Jr., I think. I really, really want Harry Kane, but I can't actually get him in this team with the budget and kind of the players I'm looking. But Phil Foden in the Premier League, he's one of the players I've wanted. He has looked absolutely exceptional, has been purring. Obviously, an early substitution today against Ipswich, coming off in the 62nd minute as well. So that bodes well for a midweek PSG game. And I just feel like the form he's in right now, he could be one of those players that's super low owned that I buy into and could do exceptionally well for me. Florian Wirtz, of course, one of the highest scoring players within the game. It's a tough fixture away at Atleti, but I feel like we have bigger priorities, obviously, sort with the Saka injury and stuff like that, rather than focusing on maybe getting Wirtz out. I'll probably leave him in. He's very, very highly owned as well, so if he does anything, probably could damage our Rio, of course, if we went for him. Bakayoko, he's been extremely disappointing since I brought him in, but this is probably going to be his last dance if I did want to go for it. Gittins, 7 goals, 4 assists out in the Bundesliga this season, which is pretty good returns. Really cheap midfielder as well, does free up some money to obviously play around with next week as well, and really really attack the final match day of the group stage. Of course, Dortmund, like I said, have had a really difficult start to 2025. Hopefully they can rebound and obviously start to build that going into the latter stages of this group stage, and of course secure themselves into the round of 16. Moving on to my 3 attackers. Of course, Vinicius Jr., very easy sell this week against Salzburg. Really weak defence, strong projected goal involvement numbers on the betting data as well. Same goes with Lewandowski against Benfica as well. I do feel that is a pretty delicious and tasty fixture. And then Jonathan David. Unfortunately, Jonathan David is still lingering around in my side. Unfortunately, I don't have the money to do Foden to Saka and then Jonathan David to Harry Kane. That would be my ideal player I'd really want this week. Of course, he is back from injury. He was injured out in matchday 6. We had to take him out. We switched it for Vinicius Jr. It worked because he got a goal, but unfortunately, yeah, I'd really like Harry Kane back. I'm not complaining at the fixture Vinicius Jr. has got this week, but ideally, I would love a front three of Vinny, Lewandowski and Kane going into this final match day. Maybe a couple more tinkerings, like I said, maybe before the Tuesday deadline, might be potentially be able to get all 3 of those in, but let me know what you think of this team. Of course, if you've got any questions about your team as well, get them in the comment section below, as we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can. But thank you for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in match day 7.